I'd like to start this session off by talking about the general layout for a course on eClass. I'm going to do this by using my sandbox that I have, and you'll notice that I've already put in some links and different activities. You may be starting from a blank course, or you may have copied some content over from a previous semester. That's okay. I just want to talk about some of the key concepts that I think about when I'm laying out a course. So you'll notice at the top I have this course introduction section. And what I like to do with this section is include all of the things that students will have to reference throughout the semester. So something like a syllabus, a reading list, which Jason will be talking about in a little bit, or especially for right now, the Zoom online classroom. So these are things that the students are going to be clicking on repeatedly. It's the first things they're going to see when they come to the course. So it's kind of important to put those up at the top. And then you'll notice that I've gone down the list here of sections, and I've renamed them by week. So there's a few different schools of thought to how to lay this out. My advice would be if you have a very consistent course schedule throughout the semester. So, in this example, every week the students are going to be completing a quiz. If that's the case, I like to split it up by week. So, basically, in this week one section here, these are all the things that the students are going to have to complete during that week. And that way they know exactly what to expect going into the week, and then they can just go down the list and check off everything they need to do. An alternative would be to separate the sections by the type of content that the students will find within the sections. So, for example, maybe you only have 2 assignments that the students are going to complete throughout the entire year. Maybe you have a block that is just called assignments, and then you put those 2 drop boxes within that block. And then maybe you have a section for quizzes and a section for online videos or what have you. That works really well for classes that don't have a lot of items that students have to check off on their to-do list every week. And some instructors will even break this down more and will do a section for every class. So basically students have a checklist for their class on Monday and then Wednesday and Friday. So if you have the students completing a lot of activities every day, then maybe breaking this down even a step further would work. What you really want to avoid is having a long list of activities that students have to sift through, and that isn't in a logical order. So at the very least, you want to keep similar content and similar links together, and you don't want to confuse students. In order to add more sections to your list of topics here, so right now I have 13 or 14, I think you only start with 10 or 11. So if I go up to the top here and turn editing on, which if you want to make any changes to your eClass course is the first thing you want to do, I'll click that. And then if I scroll down to the bottom, I can click Add Topics to add as many sections as I would like. Now I'd like to show you some of the different formatting options that you have when setting up your course. So you'll notice that right now when I come to my course page, everything is open in one long list. So once I get to week 8, 9, 10, 11, the students are going to have to scroll through everything else that I've added in order to get to what they have to do for that week. So in order to do this, we're going to go up to the top right corner and click on the gear here. And I'm going to click on Edit Settings. And I'm going to scroll down to where it says Course Format and open that section up. So this first option where it says Format and then Topics, this is where we can change the format of our course. So the one that I want to show you is Collapse Topics. So I'm going to click on Collapse Topics. And you'll see a whole bunch of options show up. I don't really recommend playing around with these, but if you do want to do it, maybe do it in your sandbox before you do it in a real course. So I'm going to go ahead and save and return. And now what you'll notice is that my sections have all been collapsed. So this is really nice because now if I need to open up week 9, I can just scroll down, click on week 9, and then I can see everything that's in there. And even as an instructor, this can be really useful to move things around. So if I need to move something from week 2 to week 8, instead of having to click and drag it down, and some of you may know that it can be quite slow to wait for the screen to scroll down. Instead, I can just open up week 2, open up week 8, and then quickly click and drag this into week 8. So collapsed topics is the most popular format. A lot of students really like it. I'll go back into that settings page really quick just to talk about some of the other ones. I don't have time to show you all of them, but maybe you can play around with this later on your own time. So if I click on the format again, we have one topic format, which instead of creating collapsed topics, it creates tabs from left to right across the top of the page. The issue with that one is you can only see one topic at a time, so it's a little bit difficult to move things around. So what I often recommend is that instructors set everything up in their course first and then decide if they want to move to the tab, the one topic format, because it's much easier to move things around in the collapsed topics format. You have the weekly format, which all that does is create a section for every week that the course is open. And then we have collapsed topics, collapsed labels, which we don't really have time to get into today. But basically, you're able to add a second layer of collapsible items. So within a collapsed topic, you're able to have another collapsed section. I'd recommend emailing ctl@ualberta.ca if you are playing around with that and need a hand with that. I can help you out. To show you how using labels in a course can help you organize things a little bit better. So I've got editing turned on, and labels are a nice way to just add instructions or text to your course page. So instead of having students click on a link to a page or something like that, you can actually just insert text anywhere on this page. So let's say, for example, that I want to add a introduction to the instructors of the class, or maybe even just a course description to this top section here. What I can do is click on Add an Activity or Resource, scroll down to near the bottom of the list under the Resources section, and then click on Label, and then click Add. And now I can type whatever I want to this box. I can put images in this box. I can do whatever I want. And whatever I put in here is going to show up on the course page. So if I type in course description, and then I can bold that. And since I'm typing with one hand right now, I can't type out full words, but you get the idea. Put in yada, yada, yada. And now I can save and return to the course. So now you'll see at the bottom of the section, I have my text right here. And now I can move that up to the top. So that'll be the first thing students will see. The other nice thing about using labels is it allows you to break up items within a section. So this week 2 section here, say that these 2 items here had to be done by Tuesday and these 2 items here had to be finished by Thursday. So I'm going to go over to Add an Activity or Resource, click on Label. And we're going to add one in for Tuesday. I'll bold that. Save and return. Move that up to the top, and then I'll make another one for Thursday. Bold that and save and return. And then move it up. And then what's also nice is that if you want, you can actually indent some of these items to the right underneath these labels just to make things even more clear. So if I click the edit button here next to my quiz and move to the right, do the same thing for these other items here. Now if I turn editing off, you'll see, this will be kind of what it looks like for the students. Everything is very nicely organized. It's very neat. So I'd recommend playing around with labels. And if you ever see an opportunity to kind of break things up and make it clearer for students, using labels is a great way to do that. And that's just about all the time I have today. So now it's over to Jason to talk to you all about reading lists.
Hi everyone, my name is Jason Hardwick and I'm part of the CTL team. What I'm going to be talking about in this portion of the webinet is the reading list service. Now that's available through the library here at the university. Now CTL and the library have some wonderful videos about how to set it up, what exactly it is, but sort of the Cliff Notes version that I'm going to be talking about today is why you should get it and how it integrates with your eClass. Why should you get it? Well, it's wonderful. That's pretty much all I can say. I enjoy this reading list so much because it takes every resource that can be on the internet and it compiles it into a reading list for you. Now, before, reading lists could just be academic texts or articles, and that's pretty much it. And you would have to go out and find access to that, or the library would help you, or students would just go and pick up that textbook. But with this reading list, it could be literally anything that can be found on the internet, whether that's a BuzzFeed listicle or a link to a podcast, a YouTube video, a web page, your own personal web page that might have some of your lectures. It can literally be whatever you want. And it's all compiled in one neat and tidy place that you send out to students, or in this case, linked to your eClass. And it's all right there for them. And the best part is, if you change anything on the reading list, it automatically updates. So you never have to keep resending out new reading lists or keep adding them to your eClass. Whatever you do is just automatically changed. And that's one of the best reasons about using it with eClass. Another reason is that it does keep everything in one place. So you've got your learning outcomes, your course objectives, your sort of course overview, and your exams all in eClass, as well as the reading list. It's all right there. There's a handy little tool, which I'm going to show you how to install in the next little bit, and it's all right there in eClass. And finally, since it's all linked to the library, you have access to ask questions to the library to say, maybe there's a text that you need, or you want to confirm if there's physical copies of a book or a textbook eventually when we're all back teaching at the university. But until then, they're going to have options for you to see if there's access to an online article or a resource. And if there's not, they'll make sure, or they'll do their best to make sure they can get it for you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how to add the reading list button into your eClass, and I'm going to do it in almost real time, so you'll see just how simple it is. So without further ado, let's go. So as you can see, I've opened up my sandbox here in my eClass, and I'm going to go ahead and turn editing on. I'm going to navigate to add an activity or a resource, and this window is going to pop up, and you'll scroll down to Library Reading Lists. Click on that, and you're going to click Add. Go ahead and give it a title. I've creatively called mine EDPS 410 Reading List. Creative, I know. And you're going to click on Save and Return to Course. Now you're going to go ahead and click on it again, which I know seems a little redundant, but this is where you're going to link it to your reading list. As you can see here, mine is still called Sandbox, but if you've labeled yours using the library's recommended way, this should auto-populate for you. But if not, you can just type in the name of your course in here. Then you're going to go ahead and click Save. And now, as you can see, the entire reading list is here. If you click on the table of contents, you can jump to whatever section you want. Now, one of the great things about adding the reading list button to your eClass is you can add as many as you want. So let's say, for example, I wanted to add one for specifically topic 5. I'm going to go ahead and add the reading list button again, but this time it's going to be under a new section of topic 5. And again, I'm going to also creatively name it EDPS 410. Topic 5. Now, another thing I like to do is in the Show More section, you can launch the container in a new window. So that way, if students click on it, a new window will open up. So that way they can have your eClass open in one window and the reading list will open in another. Now, again, you're going to click on Save, and then you're going to have to go back in and link it to your reading list. But this time, after you've typed in your course title, you can go into the menu on the right, and you can link it directly to Section 5. Click on Save. And then when you go back to your eClass, you can see that they're both there. This one here, reading list, that opens up in the same window. And this one, topic 5, which opens up in a brand new window. And that's it. Now, I know I didn't go into detail about how to set up your reading list, so if you want to know a bit more about that, both the library and CTL have some wonderful videos that explain how to go about doing that. But other than that, that's it for me. Thank you so much for coming today.